This is breaking news.
Trump sues Bob Woodward for releasing audio of their interviews. Donald Trump sued journalist Bob Woodward on Monday, claiming that the audio companion to Woodward's book, Rage, improperly used recordings of his interviews with the former president. According to Trump's suit, filed in federal court in Florida, he contends that he consented to being recorded only for the purposes of the book and not to the release of the audio recordings for other reasons. The complaint accuses Woodward of systematic usurpation, manipulation, and exploitation of audio of President Trump gathered in connection with a series of interviews. The Trump tapes were released in October and include 20 interviews Woodward conducted with Trump from his time as president and as a candidate. Those interviews include 19 times that Trump and Woodward spoke, either in person or by phone, between December 2019 and August 2020. Trump's lawsuit states, "I wanted to put as much of Trump's voice, his own words, out there for the historical record so people can hear and make their own assessments," Woodward says in the audiobook, calling the conversations lengthy and raw. Trump's suit also names Rage publisher Simon & Schuster and its parent company, Paramount, as defendants, alleging they usurped audio that was subject to limitations on use and distribution as a matter of copyright, license, contract, basic principles of the publishing industry, and core values of fairness and consent. In a joint statement, Woodward and Simon & Schuster said, "Former President Trump's lawsuit is without merit, and we will aggressively defend against it. All these interviews were on the record and recorded with President Trump's knowledge and agreement. Moreover, it is in the public interest to have this historical record in Trump's own words." The statement continued, "We are confident that the facts and the law are in our favor." Rage was one of 3 books that Woodward published about Trump after his turn as a political candidate. Along with Fear and Peril, Rage reportedly sold hundreds of thousands of copies after its initial release in the fall of 2020 and made headlines when Woodward quoted Trump during a March 2020 interview as saying that he had wanted to intentionally minimize the risk of COVID-19 to avoid alarm. "I still like playing it down because I don't want to create a panic." Trump's new lawsuit argues Rage was a total failure, which motivated Woodward to release the interview audio as well. He is suing for breach of contract, deceptive trade practices, unjust enrichment, and copyright infringement. He asked the court to find that he owns the recordings, audiobook, and derivative works in full and therefore is entitled to all revenues arising from what he calls the exploitation of such works. The lawsuit also seeks damages. 2 people involved in search for Trump's classified documents testified before grand jury. Report 2 people who were hired to comb through former President Donald Trump's properties last year for classified files reportedly testified before a federal grand jury. Both people reportedly gave roughly 3 hours of testimony before the panel investigating Trump's handling of the sensitive records, according to CNN. The 2 people were hired to scour Trump's Bedminster, New Jersey, golf resort, Trump Tower in New York, an office in Florida, and a storage unit in Florida. Late last year, attorneys for Trump handed over at least 2 new items with classification markings that had been flagged during an independent search. Those files were reportedly unearthed by the 2 people who testified before the panel. Their search came after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago and confiscated scores of documents with classified markings from the property. The Justice Department has reportedly been investigating obstruction of justice and violations of the Espionage Act in connection with the search of Mar-a-Lago. The inquiry is being led by special counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed to the post last year. Smith has used the grand jury to investigate key witnesses in the Mar-a-Lago debacle. Trump has denied wrongdoing, insisting he declassified the material and that a president can do so even by thinking about it. Prior to the August 8 search, Trump had been subject to a May 2022 subpoena for any outstanding material with classified markings. His lawyers responded at least 3 times in writing that thorough searches for outstanding documents had been conducted. Per CNN, Smith's team has been eager to examine the laptop files of a staffer connected to the Mar-a-Lago investigation, sources told CNN. The goal is to uncover whether there is an electronic trail around the classified material and how. The documents were stored at Trump's Palm Beach, Florida, estate. Earlier this year, revelations emerged that classified documents from President Joe Biden's days as vice president were uncovered at a think tank and in his Wilmington, Delaware residence, triggering a Justice Department review helmed by special counsel Robert Hur. It also emerged that classified documents were discovered at former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana residence. These revelations have sparked scrutiny from Congress. The Senate Intelligence Committee has been demanding the Office of the Director of National Intelligence give them access to specific details of the materials seized. House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chairman James Comer, R.Chi, and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, R.O., have also initiated investigations into Biden's classified documents.